Welcome friends, I am Balashan, Guru Tuition Center. This online class is for plus 2 mathematics Ncert syllabus. The topic we discuss today is inverse trigonometry. To obtain the inverse of a function, we check whether it is a bijective. That means 1, 1, 1, 2. For trigonometric functions, we cannot get the inverse unless we enforce some limit on the interval of angles. Why? Look at the sine curve plotted on the whiteboard. Along the x-axis, the sine curve, consider the sine curve on the x-axis. Sine 0 is 0, sine pi by 2 is 1, sine pi is 0, sine 3 pi by 2 is negative 1, sine 2 pi is again 0. So goes it. Consider pi by 6. That means 30 degrees, sine 30. It will be, the value of sine 30 will be half. What about sine 150? That is 5 pi by 6. There also we find the y value the same. There are other angles also for which we get sine ratio half. A number of angles are there, innumerable angles. So when we consider sine inverse half, we get a number of angles. In every function, an element of the domain can have only one image. But if we define the inverse of sine ratio, what will be the value of sine inverse half? Should we take pi by 6, 5 pi by 6 or 13 pi by 6 or some other value for which we get sine x equals half? If sine x equals half, inverse is sine inverse half. Then we will be confused. We cannot get only a particular value for sine inverse half. This half is taken as a random x. Therefore, we need to get a particular interval in the range. If we plot the inverse graph, that is sine inverse graph, the curve on the x-axis will be just on the y-axis. Sine inverse 1 will be pi by 2, sine inverse minus 1 will be negative pi by 2, and the curve will be on the y-axis. And consider a portion minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 in the y-axis. Sine inverse half, you will get only one value here. It will not repeat. If we limit the interval from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, only this portion. With respect to sine inverse function, if we take the interval in the range that is minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, there will be no confusion. And the domain is from negative 1 to 1. All real numbers ranging from negative 1 to 1 will be the domain for the inverse function. But now see this half, that number is, I told you, selected at random. We can take another number, see root 3 by 2. Sine inverse root 3 by 2 is pi by 3. Sine inverse minus root 3 by 2 is negative pi by 3. Therefore, by enforcing the necessary interval, we can define the inverse function. In the case of sine inverse, so is the case with other inverse functions also. But the interval will be different. Now you got the reason for limiting the interval. For sine ratio, we find same image for pi by 6, pi by 6, 13 pi by 6, etc. Therefore, we limit the range as negative pi by 2 to pi by 2 interval. What is it? The principal value branch of a sine function, sine inverse function. The principal value branch of sine inverse function is negative pi by 2 to pi by 2. For cosine inverse, it will be 0 to pi, etc. For tan, it will be some other ratio, some other interval. We will discuss it in due course. This is the introduction given for inverse function. Okay? Thank you.